What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel, the best place for hardworking millennials to learn more about career soft skills. Now, a staggering 70% of Americans say that they're bored in their jobs. Most of them are going through the motions and are looking for something better. Changing your career is a tough crossroad in your life, and in this video, I'm going to give you 4 questions to ask on whether a career change is a good idea or not. After answering these 4 questions, you will have a lot more clarity on whether it's the right time to make the jump or not. Now, if you haven't done so already, make sure you click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because in this channel, I give regular updates on how to make career decisions and boost your career soft skills. Also, if you haven't done so already, join the Facebook group Career Soft Skills so that you can connect with like-minded individuals who are interested in maximizing their potential for their career growth. Hi, I'm Dr. John Tam. I have a PhD in sociology from the University of Oxford, and I'm a lifelong educator. What I'm really passionate about is helping individuals build the soft skills and gain clarity in their career. So without further ado, here are the 4 questions to help you gain clarity on whether a career change is a right selection for you. Question number 1, does it fit your personality? Now, when we look at personality, we use the big 5 personality traits because that is the most psychometrically valid approach today. So if you don't know too much about psychometrics, you can check out the video I have above where I talk about personality traits and personality types and why personality traits and the big 5 personality traits is the gold standard to measuring personality today. So when we talk about personality at work, one thing we want to look at is trait openness at work, which is the tendency to pursue novel ideas or your tendency to stick with the tried and true. Now, one of the things that we find in people's line of work is that when they're in a job which they don't feel stimulated, which they don't feel like they're challenged and they don't feel like they're growing, one of the reasons why is because they keep doing the same stuff over and over again. It doesn't satiate, it doesn't appeal to the natural exploration systems that we have in our brains. So one of the things that drives this is whether you're an extrovert, so extroverts tend to like to explore, and the status of your dopaminergic system, which is basically the system which drives the whole reward and search kind of function. So when you play video games and you hear about cha-ching and it's like, oh wow, I got some points, oh wow, I got some rewards, that's what incentivizes you to keep doing it some more. And so this system is natural to us. When you are in a job that does not put you in an optimal state in terms of trait openness, it really drags you down, it really makes you feel not motivated. So that aspect of personality is very important. Another aspect is looking at extroversion, right? So right now I'm filming this video during social distancing, right? And one of the things is that introverts will do a lot better during a social distancing era where everyone has to stay in their houses and just get your work done. Meanwhile, extroverts who thrive on meeting people and having that energy of communicating with others and connecting with others, they will struggle, they will suffer because they can't really step out of the house. So if you take that same idea and you apply it to the workplace, right? Some people are much better in sitting in their cubicle or sitting in their room and working on the things that matter to them. Meanwhile, the extroverts tend to be those who walk around and have that water cooler talk and knock on people's doors and chat all the time. And so whether you are an introvert and extrovert will have great impact on your career satisfaction. Another aspect to look at is stress tolerance. And this is found in trait neuroticism, which is basically the measurement of how stress tolerant you are, how much volatility you can handle. So if you find yourself in a fast-paced job that stresses you out all the time and that you can't really catch your breath, you can't really recover, or that the ups are too high and the downs are too low, then perhaps it's time to consider for a career change, because especially if you've gone through it for a while and you know this is how the game is. And sometimes you'll see people who thrive on that adrenaline, thrive on that volatility, while others who really suffer from it. And so putting yourself in the optimal position for that is important for your long-term physical, emotional, and mental health. And the last aspect I would talk about is trait agreeableness, which is your ability to really put the team first or put your own agenda first. Now, I'm not saying that people who are disagreeable are selfish. It's that are they able to fight for what is their priority? So the agenda might not be them. It might not be for their own good. It might be for the team's good, right? But sometimes having to say no or having to put your priorities forward for example, at the negotiation table, is really tough for some people, right? And so what we find is that the best salespeople tend to be disagreeable individuals, at least in the traditional sales sense. Nowadays, the market's changed a little bit and you can be a little bit more agreeable and thrive as a sales, but in the traditional sales situation, disagreeable people are those who thrive the most and really exceed their quotas consistently. The second question to ask is, does your current career fit your values? In a recent 2019 study by Deloitte, it found that 37% of millennials believe that their business is good for the world. That same study found that 49% of millennials would leave their job to jump to another job if they had the opportunity in the next 2 years. What that really shows is that the current work environment sometimes does not align to those of millennials. And to highlight a very important social characteristic of millennials is that they're the generation that really went through the '08 crash and saw the bailouts. I'm not judging whether the bailouts were right or wrong, but the fact of the matter is they've seen how big corporations can screw things up. On the other hand, this same attitude is different, found in the Deloitte study, that Gen Zs, which is the generation that's after the millennials, they are more okay with working with big businesses in a traditional sense, right? They have more trust in corporations. But millennials, as a demographic, as a category, they generally have less trust towards these big businesses. So when we're talking about aligning values, millennials are a different animal than the Gen Xers and the Gen Zers. So the questions to ask is your current job making you feel valued? Is it maximizing your potential and maximizing your current skill set so that you feel your work is purposeful? And are you learning new things consistently and growing as an individual? Because we know right now that the future world of work is that one's career is a portfolio of jobs and portfolio of careers. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out this video above where I talk about a career change mindset and how the world today is no longer like the world of the yesteryear. If you feel that your work, social, cultural environment and its values does not align with yours, you're not alone, because like I said before, 49% of millennials feel the same. So it may be time for a change. Now leave a comment below if you resonate with that 49% statistic which says millennials don't trust businesses. If that's not what you're experiencing, let me know in the comments why and what you've experienced. Third question to ask is, does this align with your life goals? And this is really a composition of a bunch of mini questions. For example, does a commute work for you? How much time are you spending commuting versus how much time would you prefer to spend with your loved ones, your family, your kids? Another question to ask is, does it align with your career goals in terms of opportunities for advancement? Sometimes it's not the career needs to change, sometimes it's a structural issue. And so I've worked with clients who have advanced into corporations to a certain level and they want to advance further in specializing in what they do. However, the only jobs available are management positions and they don't want to manage people. That's not where they feel they're satisfied in. And so what happens is, in that case, there's really no other choice other than to switch internally or switch to another job or switch to another industry, right? And so that might be another consideration as well. The third question to ask is, how much are you making financially and is it helping you achieve these goals? And so one very useful activity to do is to map out your current career and your current salary trajectory for the next 10 years and what it's going to look like. If you do a career change, the typical result is that you're going to take a hit in terms of your salary. And so calculating that into that same chart. So if you project that, for example, if you are in HR and you want to switch to marketing, if you make that switch to marketing, what is your salary going to start like? And what is it going to look like in 10 years? If you put those 10 years side by side, you'll get a very good sense of what your financial situation is going to look like in 10 years. And that really is important in terms of what you want to do with your life goals. And the last question to ask is that job secure from disruption? So right now, we're in the age of disruption. The pandemic has disrupted everything. Internet is creating new opportunities for people to work at home. You have other forms of disruption in terms of AI and robotics. And so the question is your industry safe from disruption? And my guess is most industries are not very safe from it. unless you are the disruptor. But in that case, you're in a slugfest with other disruptors. And so the question really is, if your life goal is XYZ, is your current work supporting that? Is it going to be stable? Is it time to jump ship before it gets disrupted? And if so, is now the best time to make a move? And one very good example is I know some people who worked in the field of marketing, and they were there during the dot-com boom, and they rode that wave for Yahoo. But the problem is, does anybody ever use Yahoo nowadays, right? And so the heyday during the boom in the 2000s have gone, and nowadays what you need is Google Analytics or Facebook Analytics or other forms of analytics. And so, are you in a dying industry? And if you are, it might be a good time to jump. The fourth question to ask is, are you burnt out? And burnout can be measured in a number of ways. One way of measuring it is physically. And so for myself, at one point in time in my life, I was so stressed, I was working so much that my body broke down. It wasn't that I couldn't handle it mentally, it wasn't because I couldn't handle it emotionally, but my body literally broke down. So my body fell apart, shingles broke out at probably the worst time in my life. And basically, as a result of that, I had to shut down, recalibrate, and reconsider everything that I'm doing in my work. And so physically, there are going to be signs sometimes. And so some of my clients have spots on their bodies. Others start growing hives, or they feel that their stomach churns when they are in a situation that makes them really stressed. And so you need to read these physical signs, because physical signs are often the very first signs that you are in bad straits. And so we also know that your body is linked to the mind, it's linked to the gut, it's linked to your emotions, everything's linked. And so if your body's showing signs, that's an important red flag to consider. Is this time for me to do something else? Another sign of burnout is emotional wear and tear. Are you joyful? Are you feeling inspired? How are you doing emotionally? Do you have that energy? Are you in a sense of flow, which is you can work for 5 hours on something, but it feels like you've only worked for 1 hour? And that when you're in that state, when that state of flow, that's really when you have the most satisfaction. If on the other hand you feel anxious, or if on the other hand you feel bored, right? Anxious is when the task is way too hard and you're struggling to keep up, and when you're bored, it's the opposite. The task is way too easy and you need more stimuli. And emotion is another sign of that, and an easy way of looking is examining whether you are constantly in a state of flow or not. The third thing is, are you fatigued mentally, right? And if you are mentally fatigued, one obvious sign is that you have no mental headroom, right? When you go home and you're talking with people and you're talking with friends and family, you're not there. You can't process the things that they're talking about. You feel that you have a headache and you just want time alone. And if there's no mental headroom, that's an obvious sign of burnout as well. And the last and final sign for burnout, I would say, is, are other people noticing it? And so sometimes unless you have really high self-awareness and you're really attuned with your body, so like the stuff that I talked about earlier about being physically aware of your emotional burnout, sometimes you might not notice it, but others may. And these are the coworkers who work with you day in and day out, and they see, hey, you are looking really pale right now. Are you all right? Hey, you got these eye bags are really building up. Is everything like, they'll pick up these little subtle signs and they'll ask you these questions. If other people are noticing, then that is also an indication of burnout as well. However, you need to remember, short-term pain and short-term volatility is never a good reason to make a career change. So sometimes maybe it's just the boss is going through a rough time, or the company's going through a rough time. These are not necessarily good reasons to bail, because these things will pass. But if these things happen on a consistent basis and you're burnt out on a consistent basis, then it's a good time to ask that question. And so this checklist gives you a good breakdown of different signs to read on whether it's time to move on to another career or not. And if you're ready to move on to another career, definitely check out this PDF I have in the link below, where I outline the 4 steps on how to find your ideal career and make that career change. You can also click another link below and take the personality test that I have, which really highlights the big 5 personality traits that I mentioned earlier in this video. And that will also give you a good diagnostic picture on whether your current job is a good fit for you or not. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you join the Career Soft Skills Facebook group so that you can connect with other like-minded individuals who are interested in advancing their careers and also receive regular updates to build career success. Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts on this video. Did it help you? Did it not? And also click that like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can receive an update on my next video, which I'll talk about the career transition stages that people typically have during a career transition. So make sure you subscribe before you leave. And of course, share with your friends and family if you found this valuable. Take care, everybody.